I want to preface this by saying, because we got the question on the live stream yesterday. Hey, did you guys like the Xbox Game Showcase or did you like Summer Game Fest more? And this is a really interesting question, guys. I would have to tell you that I think the best, or I should say the better showcase was certainly Summer Game Fest, probably because they announced more horror-related games. There were certainly things I enjoyed about the Xbox Game Showcase, and we're going to get to those things here shortly. But I would say that the Summer Game Fest was just overall a better experience than the Xbox Game Showcase. Not saying the Xbox Game Showcase was trash. I'm not saying that. Part of it is, look, selfishly, I wanted to see State of Decay 3. I wanted to at least get like a release date, I thought it was the best opportunity on the planet for State of Decay 3 to get a release date announcement, to get something. I mean, obviously, guys, we got the second trailer for for State of Decay 3, which I thought was great. I thought, we kind of found out more about where they're going with this, because obviously we had the first trailer that came out, and I actually thought that they were kind of changing some of the formula of State of Decay as we know it, moving into State of Decay 3. Then we got the second trailer, and it looks like, okay, we're getting a little bit more of the same, but enhanced graphics, maybe even a snippet of what could be gameplay in that second trailer. We didn't see any zombie animals, which is what we saw from the first trailer to the second, which is okay. I mean, I would have liked to see a little bit more variety, and maybe there was some new zombies that they introduced in the second trailer. I just didn't, notice it. But nonetheless, I'm going to tell you that was the major issue I had with the Xbox Game Showcase, is that we got nothing in relation to State of Decay 3. And like I said, we didn't need like this massive, full-blown gameplay trailer. I think it would have been great to have that, and at the end of the gameplay trailer, have the release date. That did not happen, though. So what we did get was Gears of War Reloaded. we got Gears of War Reloaded, which is cool. Obviously, I'm a massive Gears of War fan. I cover all the Gears of War content, guys. You guys can check out on Animal Zero. That's where all the Gears content is. But here on Horror Theory, we specialize in horror games specifically. And we've been prioritizing State of Decay 3 because I'm a massive State of Decay fan. Jeff is also a massive State of Decay fan. And we have been anticipating, excited. We've been dissecting, breaking down everything that we know about State of Decay 3 at this point in time. And yet, that showcase gave us nothing in relation to State of Decay 3. And you know what? On top of that, when you look back on the Xbox Game Showcase, we really got not much of any horror titles outside of Chronos, which I'll talk about Chronos here, guys. When I look at Chronos, it reminds me kind of a blend of a little bit of some Dead Space, Callisto Protocol, a little bit of some Resident Evil. I thought that Chronos, look, it looks interesting to me. Am I, over the moon excited about it? No. I mean, I think it'll be a game that maybe can quench our thirst, I guess you could say, for in terms of like a survival horror game. But it's not going to quench the thirst in a major way, I think, for those of us who are waiting for State of Decay 3. So let's, like I said, Chronos is coming to us from Bloober Team. That's something to look forward to because we did get a release window being fall of 2025. So, obviously fall of this year, we're going to be getting Chronos. And I think that Chronos The New Dawn will probably release Halloween. I would say it's probably going to be like a Halloween release or something of that nature. But Do I think it's going to quench our thirst for State of Decay 3? I don't. I think it should be a good game to play, though, nonetheless. I would say that the primary games that we should be really excited about, that we have release dates for, to really quench our thirst for State of Decay 3, even though they're somewhat, they're not necessarily your zombie, survival simulation like State of Decay 3 is, because State of Decay 3 is, or I really should say the State of Decay franchise as a whole, there's really nothing quite like it. But I can tell you guys that the things that are going to absolutely quench my thirst for State of Decay 3 is going to be a few titles. Number one, now Chronos could be something, but that's kind of something that's more of a dark horse for me. It could be really good. It might not be. It's hard to say really at this point. But I would say the first game that's coming out very soon is, Gears of War Reloaded, I'm very excited about. I think that's going to be great. It's, Gears of War Reloaded, guys, for those of you who don't know, that is a remaster of Gears of War 1, which it's a shooter, guys. It's a third-person shooter. It's not really necessarily a horror game, but it has horror elements in it, right? So I'm very excited for Gears of War Reloaded. Vandalism says Fable wasn't on it either. I totally agree, man. I'm very concerned about Fable. And if you guys watched the stream, our VOD from yesterday, Jeff and I were talking about how we're starting to get more and more concerned about State of Decay 3, but we're very concerned about Fable. I'm actually incredibly concerned about Fable. I think Fable is going to, I think that there are some significant levels of development hell going on over there within the Fable ecosystem. We've been waiting and just not much news. It's kind of concerning. Now, State of Decay 3, guys, that is in development hell as well. Make no mistake about it. There are issues happening at Undead Labs. Whether we want to believe it or not, it's happening. Look, when you hear a studio like Undead Labs, I was talking about this yesterday, when you have a studio that has to get help from the Coalition and from Obsidian, and a lot of times you might think, hey, dude, it's good. The more people, the more hands on deck, the better. But if you can't handle your shit in-house, we might have some problems going on. Because number one, Obsidian, guys, those are the guys who are working on the Outer Worlds 2, as well as Grounded 2, which we saw Grounded 2 at the Xbox Game Showcase, which looked pretty, definitely interesting. I wasn't a massive fan of Grounded, but it definitely looks like they've created some quality of life improvements to Grounded 2, which is awesome. What I'm saying, though, is Obsidian has their own projects they're working on, and now they're helping Undead Labs with State of Decay 3. And then on the flip side, you have the Coalition, who not only have a game coming out in 2 months, that being Gears of War Reloaded, but then on top of that, they have Gears of War E-Day. And those guys are also helping with State of Decay 3. So, I gotta tell you, I'm pretty concerned right now about State of Decay 3. And it's not so much because, I think the game is, doesn't look good. It doesn't, have certain improvements and stuff from what we've seen from the trailers and stuff. What I'm saying is I don't know if there's creative differences happening at Undead Labs. I don't know if they're getting pushback from the higher-ups at Xbox. It's really hard to say, guys, the issues that they are facing right now. But there's been a lot of talk, rumor, speculation about the work conditions and things of that nature at Undead Labs. Now, a lot of these things, you have to take with a pinch of salt, because there's been people who were former workers at Undead Labs saying that the work environment wasn't good, and, the higher-ups weren't really good to work with, things of that nature. But once again, you got to kind of take those things with a pinch of salt when you have, current or former employees that are coming out and saying things about, about working at Undead Labs. But make no mistake, there is concern there. There's more concern. Jeff and I agreed yesterday that there's more concern about Fable right now, for sure. We've had radio silence. Yes, we got a second trailer, obviously, for Fable. What was it? A couple of Xbox showcases ago. But it's been radio silent, and it's just been years upon years of development. And it's like, where are we at? It's kind of like, I think of games like Elder Scrolls 6. Now, sure, Bethesda's working on other stuff, but man, we got a overview cinematic of Elder Scrolls 6 and radio silence since then. I mean, was it like 2017, 2016 when we got that reveal of Elder Scrolls 6 and it's been completely radio silent? I mean, yes, we got, Oblivion remastered. So they're working on other stuff. They're releasing other stuff. But when you have a game like Fable and you have a game like State of Decay 3 that you don't hear much from, and then all of a sudden you get another cinematic trailer. Now, sure, State of Decay 3's trailer 2, it looks like we got a glimpse of what the gameplay could be, but it wasn't a true gameplay trailer. It was still, once again, another cinematic trailer, in engine. And so, I don't know, guys. State of Decay 3, fingers crossed that we're still tracking for 2026, because the last that we heard from Undead Labs was obviously they delayed the game from 2025 to 2026. And I'm really hoping that they can stick to the 2026 release date. Now, that being said, on the flip side, if the game's not ready, if it's not well polished, refined, there's a bunch of bugs, issues, things of that nature, just wait it out until the game is ready to go. We do not want to have a Cyberpunk 2077 kind of release with State of Decay 3 where, for those who didn't know, Cyberpunk 2077 was one of the most anticipated games of all time. And it released early to please investors, and it was buggy, glitchy. I mean, it was almost unplayable on consoles at launch. And so CD Projekt Red, they had to double down. They had to cancel the multiplayer. They had to, really move a lot of resource and development in order to get the game right. And what's awesome about that story is CD Projekt Red, they made the game, they focused everything they had on Cyberpunk 2077, and I believe now, to this day, one of the best games of all time. So from the start, it was really bad. And I believe Cyberpunk 2077 would be absolutely massive at this point if the game just waited, that being CD Projekt Red, if they would have just waited to release it, it would be one of the biggest games on planet Earth. Like, I really believe that. And so with State of Decay 3, you do not want to mess this up. Vandalism asks, how bad is it for State of Decay 3? I'm really hyped for the game. I'm really hyped for it as well, man. I don't think it's as bad as where we are with Fable, but I think it's bad. When you've got multiple other studios that are helping Undead Labs, they can't handle all of the things in-house. That's a problem. It's a problem. And so, I'm getting more and more concerned about it because we don't have a release date. Now, if they had nothing to show, a definite release date, that's fine. You can wait on, we can wait on it, but it's just concerning when you got a lot of radio silence where you're not hearing much from Undead Labs, whether it's on their social media, websites, things of that nature. That's where you start getting a little bit of some concern brewing. The other thing is we didn't get a release date for Gears of War E-Day. We got obviously Gears of War Reloaded is their primary, focal point right now, because it comes out in 2 months. It comes out like August 26th of this year, which is awesome. And Gears of War Reloaded looks great. I'm very excited about it. And I would say, they're going to be doing a beta, which at first, when they released the trailer for Gears of War Reloaded, they didn't show that there was a beta that was happening. But then we found out through social media and stuff, according to Gears of War and the Coalition, they're going to have two betas. Basically, for 2 consecutive weeks. So it's going to be like starting this upcoming weekend. They're going to have one starting on Friday, I believe, to Sunday. And then the week after, they're going to be doing another beta to make sure everything's like polished, ready to go for when the game releases. Because I stated yesterday, guys, in our watch party for the Xbox Game Showcase, that I was concerned that they were not doing a beta, or at least they didn't announce a beta right then and there during the Xbox Game Showcase. And if they did, guys, I totally missed it. But because you want to make sure that the game's polished, it's refined, it's ready to go, you know, especially from a multiplayer perspective. If you go all the way back to Gears of War 2, that multiplayer was unplayable at launch for a lot of people. I mean, it was terrible. Like, you couldn't even get into like lobbies. It was so bad. And so them doing a beta or 2 betas, 2 weekends of the beta is going to be massive for that game. Getting back to State of Decay 3, guys, I think that don't hit the panic button yet. I think, you know, Jeff made an interesting point yesterday during the live stream where he stated, listen, Dead Island 2, when that came out, it was like, I guess I should say, like, before it came out, there was a ton of delays, changing of hands, creative differences, all this different stuff. And when the game released, you know, it had some of the best like zombie models we've seen in gaming, you know, going back to when it released, right? Obviously the models have changed and, you know, it looks a lot better now. But back then, guys, when Dead Island 2 came out, you know, people were very concerned about Dead Island 2 because it had so many delays, so many, you know, just internal issues from what we were hearing from rumors and stuff. And when the game released, it was like, wow, this is actually, you know, the character models, the zombie models, this is great. And Dead Island 2, I think, is it's a really solid entry in that franchise. However, just because it's Dead Island, that doesn't mean it's going to translate for State of Decay. And so we got to trust the process. That was kind of the thing that Jeff was stating yesterday, was trust the process. Like, if Undead Labs needs more time, should they be totally radio silent? Absolutely not, guys. They should just like let us know, hey guys, like here's a screenshot. We're still working on the game. Like, we're getting closer. We're gonna have something here soon to tell you. Like, we're like, stay tuned. We're gonna give you guys something. Jojo says, despite Dead Island's late release, the game is like a breath of fresh air. Yeah, I felt like I went back in time when playing it. Yeah, you know, Dead Island 2, I think that's I love Jeff making that point for yesterday during the live stream, because I think it's something to look at, where it's like, just because a game keeps getting delayed, sometimes it's not a bad thing. It just means it's not ready yet. You know, so we'll have to wait and see what the story, how this happens and how it unfolds for State of Decay 3 specifically.